It's time for more coaching and coffee talk. Today, we have for the second time on our little program, B, who is a breathwork teacher and practitioner that uses cold and heat exposure as stressors to strengthen the immune systems of his clients while improving their performance, restitution, and stress levels, and even helps them heal from injuries or work through grief. He was certified as a Wim Hof instructor back when that meant coming face to face with the man himself. How are you, B?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm glad we could do this again here after a couple of scheduling kerfuffles.
Exactly.
I'm wondering, we last time when we talked a lot about what you do and the your kind of the story of meeting Wim Hof, which was great. But I was wondering today, can we dive a little bit into what brought you into this kind of work in the first place? You kind of hinted that there was some trauma in your younger years or some problems. And I just wondered if you could go into that today, because I think these stories are important and inspirational for people.
Could be. That's what I hope. It's I've been hiding myself away, and meeting Wim changed my perspective of what, of course, like he says, what we are capable of. And I always, actually yesterday I was in a newer collaboration with Fit for Kids. It's not an advertisement, but it's just Denmark is a forenings country where you have all these volunteers doing really good work for fellow man. And Fit for Kids is Fit for Kids is an offer for families and kids that doesn't fit in or are obese or whatever challenge they might have mentally or physically. And I
is that out of the University of Southern Denmark?
No, I thought it's a funding. It's not on a university. It's an NGO.
Okay.
And they're now expanding into Europe. They have this digital platform, but we're not going to go into that much. But Fit for Kids, and you mentioned it. I started, of course, because I have a need. I've had a need since childhood to understand why I do what I do and why I think and behave like I do. But it becomes clearer and clearer now the more I work with breathwork and cold and heat, of course, because that's the stressors I like. Breath holds, hyperventilation, and when I started out, it really changed my life. I just Googled "never sick again" in 2018, and then Wim popped up, and I had to meet the guy. I had to find out more about this stuff, and I went all the way and became an instructor and met Wim a few times. I'm still in communication with Wim. We don't talk about the organization because I'm not part of it anymore, but we talk about protocols and programs I do for my clients. And I've worked with terminal cancer patients as well, and recovery patients and people that have too many letters in their backpack, like myself. So not too many, but just have some letters, some diagnosed that they can't seem to find a solution for, and then they are desperate or become desperate or eager to find out what they can do themselves. And Wim Hof is and his method that he's brought to the world, which is, of course, just pranayama. Not just pranayama, it is pranayama. Hallelujah, it's great. It's a little bit too mystical for most of us, Westerners at least, but Wim have just packaged it in a very simple and very effective form and put a lot of science to it. So thank you very much, Wim. Now we're going to take it onwards, because I found out that it is stress. And I love stress. I used to do a martial arts elite, let's start at the beginning. It just came to my realization in the last few months that I tried to commit suicide when I was 12 years old.
Wow.
I couldn't cope with it anymore. I call it my trauma fairy tale, because all fairy tales end happy. So I don't want to I want to have this story to end happy. I can now see how it can end happy. I'm living the life. I'm living it. It's not easy. It's not. It's like the painkiller. I'm killing the pain still with the breath work, and the cold and the heat, but I can see because it's natural and because it's something I do on my own. It's very empowering being in a very difficult situation with grief, or with me in my situation, it's a bipolar, it's a complex PTSD I've been dealing with my whole life.
Yeah.
But I've only seen it as another hindering or another obstacle, because I didn't. Yeah, when I was 12, I made a decision, a coping strategy, you might call it, that I can't rely on anyone, because my parents didn't understand me like any pre-teenager or teenager. But mine was a little bit, well, maybe because I'm a very sensitive person, it dug a little bit deeper. So I couldn't cope with it, couldn't end my life. Then I had to do something else. I sat out. It's a very funny story. It's in the summer. I went out into the car. I must have seen some TV how to kill yourself in a car. And I put on the car and just sat there and waited, and nothing happens until I got very hot, because it was the summertime. I just forgot the exhaust pipe had to go. We returned back into the window. So thank God I was not knowledgeable enough at that moment. So then I kind of like, wow. Then I have to do something. And then I split my personality once again. My mother left me when I was 5. So that kind of like gives some, like I'm not worthy, or I'm not loved, or whatever. We had the best life together, but she left me at 5, and we talked a lot about it, but it wasn't enough. And I've been talking about it for 25 years, traditionally, coaching, psychology, therapy. I've been around. I really try to get meditation and yoga and mindfulness under my skin, because I knew there was something there. But after 25 years of investigating, trying it out, trying to meditate, I got sick because of this back and forth, and I couldn't deal with my trauma in any other way. I tried anything, even self-medication and ayahuasca and campo and all kinds of stuff, because I'm very curious. Because I had it sounds like Wim a little bit, but I had this urge inside that there must be something we can do, because I tried it. Because bipolar, you switch a little bit in your personality. So I'm actually fantastic some days, and I can do anything. I know exactly what to do, but then other days I can't do it. And my situation is I've done everything a little bit too much, because that's the kind of person I am. I'm a sensitive guy, but I like cut it off from the neck down, because, as a sports person, as an elite performer, the body is the limitation, right? So you don't listen to the limitations. And that's doable for a certain amount of time. But I'm now 57, and when I started with the Wim Hof method, started with breathwork, I was 52, and I thought I should do what Wim have done, what I've always done, making records and trying to see or tell people that this is how powerful it is. But I started because I was sick. I got some inflammation, which caused me to get a Rosen streptococcal infection, which would have killed me if I didn't get penicillin. So, and I didn't like to go in and out of the hospital. So I Googled Never Sick Again, and then I found the breathwork, and then I also contacted a shrink to see if he could figure out what I was dealing with. But maybe my mistake, I said I was actually trying CBD oil at the moment, but then I started the breathwork, and then I said to this shrink, well, I'm going to leave the CBD oil, but I'm not going to leave the breathing, because I feel there's something in there. And then I told the shrink that I'm not going to take any medicine, but I would really like to know what I've been dealing with my whole life. And a few weeks later, he said he couldn't work with me because I was unstable. I could have told him that as a bipolar or major, whatever diagnose you want to give me. Reverse psychology. Psychology reversed is the new term. And I like that, because I'm just different. I'm just see things differently. And that's why I felt, because of my upbringing, I have emphasized that my whole life. I never felt at home anywhere. So I have always looked to find a home inside by traveling. When I was 12, I couldn't kill myself. I was unsuccessfully, thank God. I dreamt about moving away, running away. And I ended up in New Zealand, and that's paradise on earth. But the monkey was still there. So, and this is in 2000. And now is 2023, and I'm a full-time breathwork and cold therapist. And I'm still dealing with my own shit. I only do this because of my own sake, because I need this. I need to put myself in a situation where other people are depending on me. Other people are looking for me for help, because then I have to, get the extra I need.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
short introduction.
I don't know. I don't know if you realize how parallel our stories are, actually.
No, let me know.
For one thing, I'm going to be 57 next month. But yeah, similar with my parents. Although my parents never split up, but there was a real I didn't realize until recently the level of trauma, which I initially thought was just complex PTSD, which is like when you don't get the needs, you don't get what you need, the mirroring, the support, the emotional, discussions and support from your parents, which I didn't get. But then I just realized, from when I was 5 years old, my mom's go-to was, "God damn it, Scott, I could just kill you," and I always brushed that under the carpet until really like this year, I would say, I realized, Jesus, that's not small t trauma, that's big T trauma. That's a kid not thinking that it's, I didn't necessarily feel my life was threatened, but what I felt was worthless. That I need to do a bunch of crazy stuff to get love and affection, that I needed to take care of everybody's feelings around me. It was my job to make my mom's mood better, which was an impossible task, all these things. And I also was the eternal outsider that you described. And it led me to, it sounds like, a lot more drug use than you did. I was an alcoholic from the start and became a heroin addict in the end. Wow. Until 36, I think. I got sober and haven't had a heroin or a drop of alcohol since then, thank God. But what else was I going to say that just recently I realized that even though, and I'm curious what you think about this, because I heard you mention that you weren't going to take the medication, and that's been my thing my whole life, because I thought, I'm a drug addict, I'm an alcoholic, I don't want a pill to be part of my solution. No. But even though I was doing breath work, even though I was doing hot and cold therapy, even though I exercised regularly, even though I was doing meditation, even though, like you said, I've tried all these things, I was still having this year suicidal ideation, and now, of course, as you know, I had the big heart attack, and so a big capital T trauma, PTSD from that. And so I finally said, I need help, so I went on a medication, but then the medication settles down, right away. I was like, holy shit, is this how normal people feel? This is fantastic. And
yeah, exactly.
2 months later, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it took away the big stuff, like I don't think about suicide. I don't think about my heart stopping now, that's much better. But I still need this stuff, so it's almost like, even if you reach towards medication as a helper or as a partial solution, in my experience, it never is the total solution. I still need to get in the cold water. I still need to exercise. I still need to do these things to feel normal, because it's like I've been thinking a lot about this phrase, and I wrote a music about it recently, about the wounds that don't heal. Some wounds don't heal. We talk a lot about healing. Yeah. And so, like, what do you think about that? What are your wounds that don't heal? that you face every day.
That's true. You have wounds that never heal. Well, I use these wounds as motivation. And of course, I'm back in therapy, of course. Trying to, well, I'm actually, the way I figured out I work, my coping strategies, as I can't receive help from directly one way. We have to be together in helping each other. So what I've done is that I've made an agreement with a therapist, which is a very annoying therapist. So he's good for me. He reminds me of my dad, and very interesting. So we do an exchange. I help him implement breathwork in his practice for his client, and he helps me dealing with my shit in a better way. And also couple therapy. We have another session, the final session on Monday. And it's because I'm very motivated, because I'm going to be very much alone if I don't pull my shit out of the hat. I'm going to be alone. My girlfriend tells me, I've been together with this girlfriend for 12 years. I even pushed her away for 2 years during the lockdown because, she wasn't there for me in my crooked mind or crazy mind. Yeah, man. But she's back. So
dude, I can't believe this. I had a divorce. Me and my wife divorced. Oh my God. Like, I mean, it was almost a year ago, actually, a little more than a year ago. And we were actually officially divorced for 7 months. I moved out. And then part of me actually, in that process was like, wow, all this finger pointing that I was doing, it's like, there's 3 pointing back at me.
Exactly.
But I was like, wow, it actually is mind blowing to the extent I realized, like I'm a creative person, and maybe the most creative I am, which is really scary, is convincing everyone around me, she's the crazy one. And you agree with me? You agree with me? And I don't have to look at myself, and then, like you said, then I'm alone.
Exactly. And the thing is that my therapist, he just put it on the spot last time. Our first session is that, well, Birger, if you want to become a better facilitator, if you want to become a better teacher, if you want to become a better man and person, you have to, and you want to be together with this girlfriend. Do you want to do that? Yes. Okay, so you have to look at her every time she annoys you, or whatever fucked up idea I get about what's her take on this. You have to deal with it, because you're a man, and she's the one that actually is your better half. Your strength is also your biggest strength is also your biggest weaknesses. Kind of put in framing like that. And that's the language I understand. And also, if I can't do what I love to do, then I get motivated. So my PTSD is standing in my way. This is officially now, I am standing in my way. Nobody else. I'm the only one. And once I realized that, again, within the last year, as you said, I'm a former Wim Hof instructor. Since I left the company, I had to be on my own. And I didn't realize that until December, when my business just went boom. And it's like, what the? So I've been flying high on, and I've been very spoiled my whole life, because I am apparently one of those people that you like initially, because I'm honest, I'm straight out of the bag. But then when you go close to me, and if you don't see these things the way I see it, you hurt yourself. I hurt people a little bit, and that said, I'm not going to hit myself over the head about it, because I'm honest. And if you're not honest, then I have a funny way of dealing with it, because I'm a fighter. I know your weaknesses, so I point your weaknesses instead of saying, "Hey, listen, something is wrong here. I feel something." As going back to what you said, this feeling. If I feel something is wrong, then I have to stop. It's my feeling. It's not. Don't need to find a solution anywhere. And you can see my PTSD is coming up now. I'm really getting eager and stuff.
I'm just seeing some crazy light coming in here.
No worries. So that's the bottom line is, I have to deal with my biggest obstacle, and I'm pointing at him right now.
Yeah.
Realizing that, it's taking responsibility. But again, I've been really hitting myself over the head for many years because why don't you take responsibility? Why do you procrastination? I can't even pronounce it. All those words. Well, listen, man, you got a fucking complex PTSD dealing with stuff that is so old, so deep in your body, in your cells, and it comes up in my breathwork sessions. I do longer sessions now. I do other kind of sessions. The world doesn't need another method. That's not going to be a Birger Hanzen method or be method. But I'm going to teach people the principles. So my concept today is called Your Name Method, because I found out that if it's my method, I can't point fingers. If it doesn't work, I can't point fingers. If Wim does something or his organization do something, then I can't point fingers, say, well, it's them. No. It's all about me. So, of course, I use the Wim Hof method as a foundation because I've been taught it by the man himself. And it's a brilliant way here and now to change your physiology, change your state of mind. You can, as we've seen in experiment, and I've seen with myself, I can remove streptococcal rotal infection just with the power of my mind when I'm strong in my faith. Because I've tried it, and this guy just told me, go with it. Just do this. And I did it. And sorry, my language. It fucking worked.
No, that's okay. But I've got so many questions. Let me pause you for a second.
Yes, please
One
do.
is how much, I just think hearing your story and hearing that it's so similar to mine, then I have a feeling that you're a little like me. I mean, a little like everyone, but there's a spectrum that we want to feel good. And we're chasing this thing that we want to feel good all the time, which is not possible. So like, how much do you think in terms of the trauma, and you talk about this deep work with your past, how much of it is acceptance and just being like, hey, I have to accept who I am and that I have this, and how much is this is something that I can treat with breath work today and maybe improve, but then there's other things that maybe you just need to accept,
Well, I have to
perspective thing,
Yeah. I can follow you. That's 50-50 is just my first intuition. 50-50. You have to accept, or again, then you can go into detail and say, well, it's just a conscious decision. If you want to deal with it or if you don't want to deal with it. Okay, I want to deal with it. I've done it since I was 12 years old. So I've got a lot of experience, but also a lot of detours. And some of those detours were very successful. Making a lot of money is a very successful detour. Being successful in sport or in business is very much a detour because it's a part of me. It's part of my coping strategy, part of my being accepted as a worthy person. But it's all coping strategies. Today, if I can become balanced, I have bad days. I had a bad day yesterday.
That's not sustainable. That's what I see. Like, I mean, of course, with an addict's mind, I think, oh, that's a way to get high, and it's not sustainable,
Yes, exactly. From an addict's mind. And we are all addicts in this world. It's normal to be addict on sugar, on acknowledgement, all those things. So, yes, I'm an addict. And I'm trying every day to win the day. Every morning when I wake up, do I breathe? Do I take care of myself? Or do I do stupid things like not taking care of myself? It doesn't matter what addicts or what addiction it is. It's addiction. And to sugar, like I follow Jordan Peterson and Gabor Mate. And Gabor Mate's trauma or addiction is, he's fantastic. Jordan Peterson, I love him. And I can see so much of their philosophies in the way I've been dealing with my trauma, my coping, whole about hard training like you've done. Hard training, going into different kinds of esoteric disciplines like meditation, mindfulness, yoga, and even deeper shamanic traditions, sweat lodges and vision quest and primal therapy retreats, where you go deep in and on all of these retreats and all these educations, I've seen the red thread of my life is I deal with all these things automatically. I've done it. And now I just know what I've done in my whole life. And now I realized, okay, I need to make a program. I need to make my story into a trauma fairy tale. Yes. Because I have to accept it, that this is maybe something I have to deal with my whole life. And today I have a son that's 14 years old. He's a teenager. And I don't know. I'm confused. But again, when I was 12, I said to my dad and my mom, I don't need you anymore because what you give me, I don't like. So of course I'm confused. And I'm dealing with this openly. I'm telling my son that this is my story. This is what I come from. I want to be the best dad for you. Help me become your best dad, because I don't know. I wasn't taught how to do that. I'm in the process as we speak. It's difficult because he's only 14 and I can only put so much responsibility on him. But what I'm trying to do is telling him, this is what I bring. Some of this stuff is in you. I would like you to deal with it together. How can we make the most of it? From my experience, that's why I'm telling him in stories every day. When I'm not together with him every day, unfortunately, but every time I'm with him, I try to tell him a little bit so he knows where he comes from. That's the only thing I would have loved to have that one-on-one with my dad and my mother. But I have them today. They are part of my corner. I'm still a fighter. They are part of my corner, and even though I'm a fighter, I can still do the dance. A good fighter is a dancer as well. So I'm trying to make the fight into a dance with my corner of people very close to me, and my support group, and my girlfriend is there as well, and two of my friends that unfortunately succeeded, which with what I didn't succeed when I was 12 years old. So they are in my corner. Every time I hold my breath, every time I meditate, I can go and contact them and kind of like get an internal acceptance and internal support because I'm doing it for them as well. I want to tell you a little story on exactly that, because it's
Can I ask one question right before that? Because I was also thinking too, the parallel of you doing this, the MMA and stuff, and like
Thai boxing.
MMA
wasn't invented.
I'm sorry, Thai
boxing. I'm glad MMA wasn't invented.
I'm ignorant to the whole thing, so I've never done that. So yeah,
it's punching people in the face.
No, but I know you guys are very exacting about that. Thai boxing, and of course I did the CrossFit competing and was totally
fantastic,
and thought I was doing something good for myself. I'm wondering if how you feel about this, because even if I have this trauma in my past, when I realized that the training and this stuff that I thought I was like being good to myself, I was really punishing myself, and I was really there's an element of anger to the training. And like I don't know if you read Thich Nhat Hanh at all about he talks about this Tibetan monk that we lost a couple of years ago, but he talks about not, when you're angry, not screaming into a pillow, not punching a pillow, because it's rehearsing anger for your central nervous system, and it so that you continue.
I think it's the autonomic nervous system.
Yeah. So it's so I mean, and part of after my heart attack was a big switch in training that you alluded to too. And it's interesting that you had this systematic infection that really changed your life, because that's when I turned to Wim Hof too, except I didn't Google never get sick again. I Googled methods that are good for your heart and circulatory system. That's how I found Wim Hof, through my Google. So, I mean, does that resonate with you, the punishing thing versus the caring for yourself?
Oh yeah.
These days?
The Thai boxing, the boxing and the karate was a two-part coping strategy. One part was, of course, my big brother was trying to toughen me up. with my parents' acceptance when I was 10, 12 years old. And of course, that's part of it. So nobody's going to toughen me up anymore. So I'm going to make myself strong. That was one of them. And also I chose sports that was a little bit extreme, because then I can be an extreme person and get the acknowledgement on that part. The training, I see that today. I didn't know anything about stress until I was 35 years old, until I ended my active career, because you train in stress. You get a high level of dopamine, and on the behind of that, on the fear and the adrenaline and the noradrenaline, all these hormones, you get dopamine and you get serotonin if you go for it. And especially if you go to the limit and above or beyond the limits, and with fear involved. Just listen, I had 21 boxing matches before I figured out this is not for me.
It takes what it takes.
Some people have big ears. Somebody has to feel it. 21 fights. And I have numerous martial arts fights and all that. What I found out, because my therapist, he's actually a martial artist as well. And he's done Kung Fu. He's done martial arts. I did martial fighting. You know, kampsport, kamp-art, kampkunst in Danish. So, and that's the difference. And when I met him, I was like, oh yeah, of course. I should just have done this Kung Fu. And like pretending or preparing myself, having fun with it, using it as a self-awareness practice, like Qigong or meditation or breath work. That's why breath work and cold heat, especially the cold, is so recognizable for me. But the approach, which I started with 5 years ago, is not the right approach for me anymore. So today I look at the less is more. How can I do less exposure to stress, let it be breath work or cold or heat, and get the maximum output? How do you do that? Mindful. You approach it mindful, not to cover down feelings, emotions, putting yourself in states like an addiction. But it's the best addiction you can ever have by using your breath. But still, it's an addiction. You can well, this is my interpretation. I, of course, has a little bit of background in family relation therapy, like Bert Hellinger, family constellations. And when I met Wim and his son, the first time I met them in Holland, I could feel it. There's some issues here. And now it's very official that, yeah, there are some issues in the organization. And they have a trauma like many other families, but they have to deal with it publicly. And I'm sorry for that. But again, if they don't want to deal with it, it comes up. You can't hide a trauma for yourself, your own trauma, or for anybody else. It will come up.
Yeah, as a huge infection or as a heart attack.
Or whatever.
As we know.
Or you become very much alone.
Yeah, or a thrown out lower back, or
I'm there. Yeah. I'm there. And I feel I'm so fortunate that I'm able to, every morning when I wake up, I can feel my inflammation level, because I still have half of me. I'm only halfway there, but I know the way. That's the most important thing for me. I know the way for me. And that's why I made this concept called Your Name Method. Yeah. Because I want to, Wim also says this, go with it. He told me and a lot of other instructors, go with it. And then I didn't understand what go with it means. But it means find your own version, find your own. That's what Wim did. It's all pranayama. He just put tumu and pranayama together, breath hold, pumpacha, or whatever they're called. Put them into very 3-step protocols. He only had 2 breathing protocols, but one of them is power breathing, and it's just breathe faster. Yeah. He's taking all the
it's interesting. I've done the same thing with exercise, where now I do these micro workouts. You probably see
exactly. I love that.
The day. And it also, I do everything like that. And the breath work now, I do like that too. I used to be with the Wim Hof app, and I did 4.5 minutes. And this whole thing, and comparing it with others. But now, that was kind of an intuitive thing where I went away from that and did a Taylor, my name breath work, like you're saying. I love that. Is how I do breath work now, where I kind of have a morning thing. I have a method that I use for stress throughout the day, and then I have a before bed thing. So it's like, yeah, it's kind of become tailor-made like that. Yeah, I love that.
It has
But,
to
you know,
be.
tell me the story about your guides. I think you were going to tell
Yeah.
about the guys from the
And
other
we
side.
also need to remember, I want to know the story, the status of you and your ex-wife. I want to know the status as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
But you're good at keeping track. You're better than me at keeping track. So
amazingly, I'm the brain damage guy. So
well, I'm the brain damage guy too. So, well, the story is that we were supposed to, we produced the endotoxin trial in 2018 on a summer expedition. Of course, there were no possibility of injection E. coli bacteria. So Wim said, you're going to be drunk and sober twice today, and then we're going to have a hangover tomorrow and acute inflammation tomorrow, and then we're going to do the breathing. So you can see you can lower your acute inflammation levels.
Oh, I read about that. I didn't know you were part of that. Okay.
I was part of that. Yeah. And, you know, Wim is from Holland, so, but his son was a little bit tight on the money, so we'd only got drunk once that day. We drank, Wim was there as well. He was, yeah, of course, not officially, but we had a party. And I got a hangover. It was perfect. We had a good fun, some good fun with 40 lovely people. Well, actually, at that stage, it was like, I have a video recording of a gang member from downtown San Diego or downtown Los Angeles telling me, I had to record it because I couldn't believe him. He said, Birger, I've never met a bigger man with a bigger heart. And you see me, I feel you, whatever. And I was like, come on, are you bullshitting me? Are you drunk or something? No, I'm straight. So I filmed it. And that was so like, okay, I actually have a loving impact on people. Most of the time I have a very aggressive, direct approach. And this was the first time somebody told me, and this was a gang member or a former gang member. There was also a Navy SEALs on that expedition. So I have some very interesting people. And all of them was like, it's just love. Wim has this aura around him that it's all about love. Because he is love for himself. He has dealt with his trauma in the most beautiful way, but he still has a trauma. Well, maybe he doesn't have a trauma, but the family has a trauma. You see that in the problem between him and his son. But I was at that stage. Well, in that party, I was hit by social anxiety, and right there, I met a girl. She came up to me and said, "I have this state now. I feel outside." She has the same. She felt the same. I was like, why? How can that happen? So I said, why don't we take the medicine that we've just been told? She said, okay, let's do it. So we sat down and we just took 10 breaths, and then it was like, it was gone. I could feel the connection again. And then that was like, I call it an SOS today. Maybe we can do that in the end. We can do an SOS. It's 1 minute. Maybe you can use it during a day. If you only have 1 minute, this can change your state. But
I love it. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah,
I love it. It's a little bit dangerous because it's condensed of all of Wim Hof teaching in 1 minute. So, but still, you can do it in your own way to your own need or desire. The day after, we were doing the breathwork session on the grass, beautiful place, and then we unfortunately I was lying in an ant nest. There was a lot of ants around me, so I couldn't focus, I couldn't concentrate, so I couldn't remove my headache. Fair enough. We start the walk, and then I wanted to get the most out of my investment, so I stuck to Wim Hof. But I had a bad knee because I did some SOS in my shower, standing up, so I hurt my knee passing out a few months before. So yeah, well, I'm experimenting. So never do it standing, never do it in water. And so I had a bad knee, but I could still manage to keep up with Wim. But I could only do it because I heard how he did it, how he was able to maintain this speed, because I had this limping leg. So, and again, later on, I also reconfirmed from Wim that this is the way to cope with any stressful situation. He was breathing all the way up the mountain, and I just copied him, and I could just feel, whoa. Then my headache got away. Everything just changed because I was breathing more than I was supposed to breathe, because I needed to follow up with Wim, and he walks very fast. And on that stretch up, my old friend Peter Lex, who committed suicide 2 years before I met Wim, and I couldn't do anything for him. I tried to meditate with him and try to stay with him, but he had too much, partying in his blood still from his younger days, so he wasn't able to get the benefits from meditation and mindfulness. I didn't know the breathwork at that time, but he always said, and I will never forget him for that the sun is always shining, just sometimes above the clouds. And this was one of those days where it was overcast and then it was sun, and it was nice. And then we came to the final stage on the top of this walk. And I was with me, Wim, and Russell, an Australian guy, which we were clashing because we had some personality clashing, but it was beautiful.
Some alpha male stuff.
Yeah, alpha male bullshit. Exactly. Yeah. But he was also there, and then because I talked to him a few months ago, and he confirmed the situation, because I was like, is this really real? Sometimes I doubt that this was what happened because of my coping mind. Is this just another fairy tale story I've told myself? But no, he confirmed it. That when I was standing there on the top of the track, I told Wim about Lex, that if I've known breathwork 2 years ago, I would have abducted him for 24 hours and just made him breathe for 24 hours and go into the cold as much as he could cope with for 24 hours and getting all those toxins out of his system. I'm 100% sure it would have helped him. But of course, I didn't know about it. So it made me sad. And I shared it with Wim. He gave me a hug and he said, he hears you, he feels you. Are you ready? And then I said, well, I'm ready. If somebody else comes along, yeah, I'm going to be breathing with him for sure. So I said, yes. And then he said, let's climb. And then I did the famous climb before all the others, just with Wim, no security. It was about 800 meters height. We did free climbing, but it's a very simple route. And another little funny story is that Wim, he said, should I carry your backpack? I said, no, fuck you. You're the old guy, just climb. And then I climbed for about 10, 15 meters, and I could feel the backpack. I had about 8 kilos because I was carrying some water for other people, and I could feel, and then I said, Wim, and then he didn't ask or anything. He just gave me the hand, and then he took my backpack, and then we climbed further. And of course, this is above and beyond protocol, and I don't have photos, only my own personal video, because it should be not official. And I fully understand that. You shouldn't take out. I wasn't even an instructor there. I was just a participant on one of his expeditions. Yeah. So Wim is crazy, some says, but also Wim is crazy good at detecting people that just need a little bit of push. And I needed this support. It wasn't dangerous. I was an experienced climber, and this was only a half an hour's climb, so the weather couldn't change even though it was in the mountains. So he assessed that it was safe with me, and it was, of course. But at some stage, we reached a plateau where it was free fall. And I didn't dare to look down, and I could feel it. I got a little bit of panic, and then I looked up, and I saw Wim's shorts, the same shorts he brought to Mount Everest. I thought, okay, he'd done it before. Then I noticed, what is he doing? And then again, it was reconfirmed. One hand, one foot, taking a deep breath each time. And I just copied him. And then, yeah, I could feel it today. I could feel it, man. I could just feel it. Boom. I was back again. 17 years old, first time into a boxing ring. Full focus, full, presence. And then at the end of the climb, like it goes like nothing. Time just evaporates or vaporize, and then there, and I could just feel my chest was just boom. I felt it. Yeah. Wow. Then I knew this is my way. This is my way of dealing with my own shit without having to go to Mount Everest. I can just pretend. I can just pretend, and I don't have to go all in. I was afraid of heights when I was younger. I went all in and became a bungee jump instructor. It's not the best approach for all people, and not for me anymore. And Wim Hof method is too strong for me. in the initial version that I thought Wim was teaching. And I see people do it today. Yes, it gives you.
Let me ask you something. I want to go a little out there. First of all, that was my experience too. Is I felt like the Wim Hof method, doing it all the time, was kind of was it a stressor, not in a good way for me with my heart condition and stuff like that.
Well,
and
you can feel it start pumping, right?
myself. Yeah. I kind of want to do things that calm me, But I wanted to see if you're willing to go there, because I'm really, of course, having had a near-death experience, I've gone into all this near-death experience stuff with people, describing what is on the other side, and basically coming to my own conclusion that we are these infinite beings having a human experience, and that our experience as those infinite beings is continuous once we shed this mortal coil here. But since you're talking about your friends that you feel like you're still in contact with, and Wim kind of confirmed that for you in a spiritual way when he says he can hear you now. I'm wondering what you think about the concept that maybe the breath work is not per se the thing that works. Maybe it's an energy that we have, and maybe the breath work is the gateway to us opening up that spiritual part of ourselves, that where we can connect to people, and where we can connect to the highest form of ourself,
Yeah, absolutely. I just call it, I define it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
But it is spirituality, hands down. I define it as regaining balance, maintaining balance on the physical, mental, and spiritual level. So you have to be in balance. You have to have a balance about being active and passive, just like the autonomic nervous system, right? The sympathetic part and the the parasympathetic part. You have to have energy, power, life energy, and the breath is up to 90% of your energy comes from your inhale. So of course, it's a life force that when you start to breathe, take more energy in or create more energy in your body, of course, it will give you more life force. Just look at Wim. But you have to find your level. It has to be in balance with the energy and the relaxation. It's just like, that's why, as you mentioned in the introduction, performance and recovery. If you have to perform, you have to put at least 50% or another 100% on your recovery, because the recovery part is that what makes you stronger in reality. And that's the quiet part. When I was a fighter, because I wasn't talented, I was just very eager. And I was talented in getting punishment. I could take a lot of punishment, and I saw that as a benefit in martial arts, because I didn't care about the punishment. I just could cope with that. I knew that from my childhood. I can cope with a lot of physical pain. So in that aspect, I could kind of, that was like, I took the pain, too much pain. I see that today. And now I can, but I love the way I could manage my anger, because sorrow, if it's not dealt with, there's a coping strategy on top of that, that is anger, right? It's very common. That's at least what I've figured out. And also it's relevant, or it's my experience in my life, is that when I get sad, I either become very vulnerable, very uncomfortable vulnerable, or I become strong and attack. And I can see that also on my approach with my girlfriend. And I just had a morning session, because of course I didn't tell her that I was having a podcast at 9 o'clock. She thought I had a meeting in town, so she had to be out of the door at 9 o'clock. So a lot of stress, and I had to have 2 offers out to 2 customers. So I'm very good at stressing other people.
Can I ask you a question about the practical thing of your business? Because I've kind of encountered this myself, where, like, for instance, you're saying your name method, and I kind of have a similar philosophy, where it's I want to teach people really, and it's not a great business model, but because I want to teach people to be able to go off on their own and be on their own. And, you know, of course, so then you're talking about a pretty short time that you're actually with clientele. And so to survive, you need this continuous turnaround and you know, hustle for clients, which I detest. But it's like, but then you also have, you know, well, I don't know if your experience is like this, but then I have these long-term clients where I can start thinking, you know, like, is this person just paying me to be their friend or something? But this is like, but then I realized this is part of what I do with the health coaching. You know, some people need this accountability for movement. I'm talking the whole time. So it also is a way of therapy that you're talking about too, the whole time, and this kind of health coaching and psychology and all these kind of things. And I talk, of course, a lot about trauma with people and my experience with a heart attack and PTSD and all that stuff. So it's and some people want that ongoing thing, but then some people, it is such a short-term thing to say, oh yeah, I learned this, great, I got it, see you, you know, which is not so great for the bank account.
No, and it's actually very, very spot on at the moment. I turned around 1.2 last year, and in 2 weeks, I can't pay the tax. I can't pay my tax. So yes, I made good. I've made Wim Hof method and breathwork together with time, very, very visible in Denmark. And I trained thousands of people, even centers, people that created centers, people that have changed their life in doing this. But now, within 1 year, because my marketing machine has not been present, I am facing bankruptcy. But again, it's like what my business is running, but I just had to find out I spent most of my money last year on expenses because I thought this is something for all people in all of Denmark. So I was traveling and the expenses just went up, and I didn't put my prices on my courses up. So now I'm like, I'm not back to square one. Well, on last Sunday, I had the meeting with the accountant, and I was depressed for two days, and suicidal thoughts were coming in. But again, like, no, man, just be depressed for a few days. It's okay. And my old car has just given up. My phone is I lost my phone on the floor. You know, everything is adding up. My PC boost. I mean, my Mac is starting to boot, and if a Mac is booting, something is definitely wrong. It never happens otherwise.
It's waving.
So I'm really
slow wave goodbye.
Exactly, it's a slow way of goodbye. So I have to go out and invest in a new Mac, and I have the money, but I can't pay the tax. So on the 3rd of July, I might not have a business anymore. But I of course I care, but I make a good money, and I still doing what I love. So yes, it's bad for business, but I don't care. I think this, and again, like within the last 2 weeks, I became desperate, and then I just thought, well, then I just became me and just wrote on last Monday on the 10th, when there was World Run. I have this idea that not everyone can run, but everyone can breathe. So why not make a concept called World Breath? So I launched it on the World Run Day, and saying I have this idea. I want to have breathwork in schools, and defined it and described it. It's an idea I have, and that's why yesterday I started working with Fit for Kids. I'm going to be working with True North, and I'm also going to be working with Next. You know, the business schools, carpenter schools, all kinds of schools. 30,000 pupils they have every year. So I'm going to have a very good fall. I'm going to be back in business on my term with Your Name method, or next generation mindfulness, which I believe is the umbrella for all the stuff we do, because mindfulness we know about. It's about relaxation, about balancing out a stressful life, for sure. It works. But there's still a need for something more. And what Wim has brought to the table is a more masculine, more direct and here and now approach. And that's why I call it next generation mindfulness. In the long run, it's completely the same as mindfulness. As you experience, as I experience as a 5-year practitioner, is I can't do Wim Hof every morning like it doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
But I can do it. And if I love it, I love the power. I love the power that I can change my state. I have endless amount of energy. I have endless amount of emotional saying. If my emotion goes out of tune, I can put them back in. Yeah. Everywhere, anytime I need it. And it doesn't take more than 1 or 5 minutes. That's why I would love to work with kids, because the old people like me, I work with, we have a lot of habits, and we have to go through a lot of pain, a lot of fear to get hold of this stuff. The breathwork is the vehicle to get you there, but you have to go through a lot of shit. And yeah, people get tinnitus because you're pushing too hard. I've just heard that. People get a lot of emotional turmoil, but it's just therapy, and you can do it on your own. So yeah, and people start to die from this because people are not thinking. This is very powerful.
Yeah. Well,
people trying to swim under the ice without rescue divers and stuff. And it's, come on.
That's the wrong idea, yeah.
Yes, but I can see it. I can see. I did it as well. I also swam under the ice. I also done these things, but I've done it too much. Yeah. And I didn't think about, what does little Birger? I have a little Birger, which is a softie and a nice guy, a very lovable guy. And then I have a big Birger, which is not so nice and not so softie. And us together, we are one. Once I get them in balance. So now you have an idea of being in big and small Birger's mind. It's
we all have that, yeah. But I think, I believe that you're gonna go on to be continued success, because it's about being, I mean, in this industry, it's about being of service. It's about coming in with a loving heart. And what I found is, if I come from there, then all that I require comes to me, you know, and I survive, you know. I mean, I look back too on my, my financial situation. I'm like, I'll get retroactive anxiety. How the fuck did I get through that? But here I am still. And
that's what I'm doing at the moment. You're right. That's what I'm doing at the moment.
And two, I think it's so essential with kids. I really hope that relationship continues, because I of course try to teach breath work to my kids, but it'd be so great if it was reinforced in the schools, because this is just like part of their toolkit that they need. I mean, my whole thing with school is that I wish they would ease up on math and Danish and teach them how to get along with each other. That's the number one thing. That's the life thing. Can you sit there? Can you listen to someone else? Can you reflect that back to them? Can you feel where someone else is coming? Can you connect with someone? These are the life skills. Math and Danish is way down the list. That's number one, and can I take care of myself? Exactly. What happens when I feel bad during the day? What do I do? I don't know what I'm feeling. Where do I go? I have this. Oh.
Exactly, Scott. Completely right. Exactly.
I'll answer the question about my wife. What's happening now is astounding. What's happening now is I am finally in love with exactly who she is.
Yes.
I finally love exactly who I am.
Woo!
Not uncoincidentally. And it's a completely new relationship. It's completely new. And and it's been a process, a deep process of me seeing and feeling how difficult it's actually been to be around me. Because I also have little Scott, who, as you said, great to be around, blah, 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 blah. And I have big Scott, who, can be powerful, can be strong, is a great guy in a pinch. But there's also some other things that come with that guy. he makes some collateral damage.
He does.
There are some explosions. There are some underground seismic activity that can knock people off balance when they don't want to be knocked off balance.
Exactly.
And all this kind of stuff. So yeah, the balance and learning to deal with it. But I don't want to go too long. Let's finish with your breathing exercise, the SOS. And
well, I actually want to just a little.
Okay.
I want to paint a little picture, which is very much aligned with this. When I was 12 years old, interesting enough, I started a new school, and it was the 5th grade, and I wanted to prove myself, and I made a lot of commotion in the school, and sometimes it was a little bit too much, so I was put outside. That's how we were dealt with people on like me back then. Fair enough. Yeah. When I had stood up, when I was one of those times out there, somebody had came along and said, "Birger, what's going on?" "Well, I can't behave." No. "What's going on, Birger? Why are you standing here?" "I can't do this." No. What you haven't learned or what you haven't been taught is how to deal with your superpower. Every time you feel this, it's your superpower trying to escape. You need to manage it. You're sitting there in school. Now you're here. Now you need to take in knowledge. If it's too easy knowledge, you just breathe. If it's too much, you ask for help. But if you sit there and you don't like to be there, you want to be somewhere else, or you can't control your emotions, it's your superpower that needs to be trained. And how do I do that? You do in for energy. You do out for relaxation. You do in and out for balance. Touch breathing. I know it. If I would have been taught this life most important tool, how to do self-management, I would have achieved many things, like probably maybe not even all the things I've achieved, which I'm very grateful for. But I would have had a different approach towards myself.
And maybe you would have picked different things.
I would have. I wouldn't have had 21 fights. I might have had one fight that fuck is not for me. But, but I survived, right? I have a little crooked nose, and I can play with that in my breathwork sessions. So remind me of my fighting days. But otherwise, I survived. Thank God. So once you're outside the door, or you are in other situations, feeling out of this coincidence, or out of this gathering of people, or you feel impatient, you feel sad, you feel low in energy, you just sit down. You never do this standing, you never do it in water, or not even behind the wheel of a car. I've done that as well. Not recommendable. You drive into the side, you sit down, and you will lean back at the end. So if you get dizzy, then you have relaxation. So but once we sit up straight, and when we end with a breath hold, and then we lean back. So we start with the end. So close your eyes and just tune inside, tune inwards. See if you have any physical or mental issues right now. I have a little bit in my left shoulder, so I'm going to be focusing on my left shoulder. You can focus on the past or the future, whatever thought you might focus on while we do the breathing. It's free of choice. I choose my left shoulder because I can feel it right now. And the first 5 breaths is trying to magnify the connection to that feeling, that pain, or whatever body's grabbing your attention with, emotions, pain signals, whatever, or thoughts. So we focus on that. And that's what we're going to be focusing for the first 5 breaths. And the final 5 breaths, we kind of clean the slate. We clean it all up and just focus on where we want to go. Change the pain signal, or change the thought process about things in the past or things coming in the future. And then you open your eyes again. Now, I'm not open your eyes. I'm just going to show you, Scott, open your eyes. Yes. So that's kind of how we go into it. Now we do the technical part or the mechanical part. The finish, the breathing is just belly, Wim Hof breathing or wave breathing, belly, chest, head, fully in, let go out of your mouth. But then we empty our lungs on the 10th breath, and we take one final breath fully in, the recovery breath, fully in. Do it now. Relax as much as you can, and then you tuck your stomach in. You tuck your stomach in, pull it upwards, suck it upwards like you're on the toilet, not pushing downwards, pushing upwards. And then you close your eyes and look and focus in between the eyebrows for about 5 seconds, and then you let go again. Can you feel the sensation in your head when you do? Yes. Not too much, you just need to have contact. Don't get tinnitus or stuff like I'm dealing with now because I was pushing too hard in the beginning. So close your eyes, contact your body or your mind. Is there something you need to work with right now? Something you want to change physically or emotionally or mentally? Just dwell on it for a few seconds and then start to breathe fully in. In nose, in mouth, doesn't matter. Let go out through your mouth. Just fully in, try to magnify that feeling, emotions, or thought process fully in and letting go. Magnify your connection, magnify the feeling, the emotions. 4, 3, 5. Okay, then we clean the slate. Breathe a little bit faster, a little bit more focused. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Final one, fully in. Now fully out. And then you take a clean inhale of fresh breath, fully in. And hold on the top. Hold your breath. Relax your shoulders. You can either sit like this or for enhancing the experience, you tuck your stomach in, push the blood into the center of your head, feel it in your head, and then look up in between the eyebrows, lean back, and then focus there and do the pressure for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let go. Just notice that feeling, emotion, or thought process that you focused on before. What is your relationship with it right now?
Well, mine was a future thing, yeah. Mine was a future fear. And like there was kind of a darkness there, and now, and I'm just seeing light, and I'm just realizing that it's about being present in the moment, like I am right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love it, man. I love this power. This is called ultimate power under over body and mind. And it's a quote from a chief surgeon in a hospital, a guy that was in the TV show.
Yeah.
Wow. Exactly. I love this.
I had this pulsing energy, but it wasn't my pulse, because I think it was going faster than my pulse.
Okay. Well, what I
do you think it was going with my heart rate? Maybe my heart rate.
That's what I see with people when they. I always use a pulse oximeter. So when I do one-on-one or on my courses, I pick out one person or one volunteer, and then I can see what the oxygen saturation of your pulse. And also when my own investigation, my own experiment is that when I do the pressure into the head, it's like the heart stops for for half a second, and then when you let go, it's like boom, boom. It hits very hard. Yeah. I don't know what's going on physically, but it's very nice.
Yeah, I had leading up to it, I had this pulse, like this, and I was focusing on that third eye thing, and then to let go, and then the light came and zoom into the moment, That was
Do you know
incredible.
what happened there? You produced DMT.
Thank you, sir. May I have some more?
Yes. It's for free. No. Today I'm a more.
The first one's for free.
The first one is for free. The rest one you need to pay for. I need to take care of business now. Otherwise, I'm not going to be here. But the first one is for free.
As a review for people. So it was 5 breaths.
Well, just find your own way.
Or for instance,
yeah. But that's my way.
You're kind of doing a deep
breath
where you're focusing on your problem, physical or mental, and actually magnifying it and sinking deeper into it.
Yes.
Then
acknowledging your body, acknowledging whatever's going on, not avoiding it, but acknowledging it. Accepting.
And then you ramp it up with some faster deep breaths. And then after 5 more of those, then you exhale all the way.
Completely.
Hold on the out breath for
not much.
Just 10 seconds or something.
No, not even that.
Not even
just
that.
Empty your lungs and then
just empty your lungs. Then take a huge recovery breath. Keep it in.
Yes.
Suck in the stomach. Try to keep your shoulders relaxed. Focus on the third eye.
Yes.
And hold. How long do we hold that for?
Well, the physical. Yeah, it doesn't really matter because it's a recovery breath. It's a power breathing. Just put into 10 breath. It's a 1/6 of a power breathing round. If you know a little bit about the Wim Hof method, they have this power breathing, which is basically holotropic breathing, right? Just breathe faster, faster, faster.
And then you relax completely and just experience.
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much, B. This was so great today. I really love this. Yeah.
Oh, me too, man. I'm
so glad we get to do this.
Yes. And you have a better relationship because of it. I hopefully will also get a better relationship, and I will never stop, because if I don't give up, you can't lose. And this is my trauma fairy tale. So I want to have to end happily, because I have a son, I have a girlfriend, I have people I want to help, I want to change. But basically, I'm only doing it for me, because
it's ongoing. It's ongoing.
It is.
It's ongoing.
If I can help other people, I can help myself as well one day. But it's easier to help other people initially.
Yeah.
Thank you, Scott.
Bless you, man. Thank you so much.
Bless you, Jill.
I'm
gonna invite you to my home to give you a session. I have a special breathing surroundings in my home. Forget about the free. I also have a chest freezer. You're welcome to use that, of course. But
beautiful.
I have a special vibro acoustic bass module where you can feel the music. It's very, very powerful. I'm going to give you a session on that.
Nice. I'm just going to hit stop here.